Today I'm setting myself a challenge. If you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know one of the things that I'm not very good at is woodland photography. Now, partly that's down to me. I struggle with woodland photography compositions and I don't get a lot of practice at it. And one of the reasons I don't get a lot of practice is the second reason why I struggle. And that's because of the nature of the woodland I've got access to, which is kind of what we got around here, which honestly is not that pretty. So the challenge I've set myself is to come out and do some woodland photography, try and get some nice woodland photography images in some woodland that isn't that pretty. Will I be successful? I don't know. I hope you'll enjoy coming along for the test out. If you do and you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe before you go. Quite often what I do is I come out like I have done today onto the woodland on the mountain, and I kind of have the mountain as my fallback position. It's my safety net. If I can't get some decent images in the woodland, I can always photograph the mountain. And it's a bit of a cop-out really. So today I am being very strict with myself. It's woodland or nothing, although I guess woodland with mountain in the background? No, it's going to have to be woodland. And I don't know what I'm going to find. Now, the woodland here is not the prettiest woodland. Let's talk about what we haven't got here and what we don't get here. We haven't got a diversity of trees. We haven't got wonderful old growth forest here. We haven't got oak trees and birch trees and all sorts of other things growing. We haven't got wonderful shapes and twisted trees. What we've got is pine trees, pretty much exclusively in this part of Spain. We haven't got moss and all of that sort of lichen and algae and stuff like that that grows. Algae? No, you wouldn't get algae on trees, would you? Moss and lichen, because it's just too arid an environment. We haven't got, you know, sort of beautiful ferns growing in here. It's kind of scrubby grass and weed and bushes. So there's a lot of things that we haven't got. The other thing that we haven't got and just won't get here is mist. You know, if you were really lucky, really high up, you might get some low cloud creating a foggy effect, but the chances of actually getting mist in these mountainous woodlands is pretty much zero. And the woodlands here are pretty much all in the mountainous areas. So this part of Spain, it's pretty much either on the coast or up in the mountains. There's nothing much else. We should hopefully get some light. We've actually got clear skies today, and that means we should have uninterrupted light. It's mid-afternoon, heading on, you know, in the sort of the, what's the time? 3 o'clock, 4, 5. So it's 2.5 hours before sunset, and most of the shots that I'm going to be doing here need to be well before sunset before we lose any light on the scene. So I'm thinking, you know, getting some light coming through, backlight, front light, side light, maybe high contrast shots, maybe black and white. I don't know. I'm just going to see what I can find. Anyway, let's get on with some exploring. Okay, I've been exploring through the woodlands quite a bit, been off the beaten track. It's quite challenging here actually, because once you get off the beaten track, there's lots of really harsh foliage, bushes and that. I mean, even with long trousers on like I've got in the winter, it's can be painful, it can be impassable in the summer. There's also these brick terraces here, so the hillsides go down in steps, and it can be really tricky finding places that you can safely get down. I actually came out of one section of Woodland. I'm walking up to go into another one, stopped to have a little breather and a drink of water, and just spotted this scene, which I'll swing you around, which is the trail going up, and it kind of winds up through these trees. And I just thought to myself, there's some nice contrasts and shadows there. I was thinking maybe a telephoto shot just to compress everything down, and probably black and white, just make it all about the dark and the light and the textures. So I've got a 70-200 on, probably about 136 mil. I've gone over to black and white format so I can see it, and it does look pretty nice as black and white, nice and contrasty. And obviously I can play around with that when I get it back on the computer in Lightroom. I'm cropping out all of the sky, nothing too much in the foreground, just really focusing on that trail going through. I think that looks quite nice actually. I think it classifies as woodland, kind of, anyway. So just checking the focus on this one. I focused right out sort of on the distance. And the foreground is just a fraction soft, so I'm going to focus stack it. So one shot focused right out on the distance and one closely on the foreground. I think I've spotted something making use of some light, but I'm probably going to need to shoot it quickly. It's going to be a telephoto. I'm just going to have a quick look at it. Yeah, that might work. Yeah, we'll give it a go. Okay, the scene I've got, there's a tree there and it's got all these leaves on, and the leaves are being backlit by the sun, so they're glowing, and the tree is quite dark in the frame. Now the tree is actually at an angle. Now normally when I shoot landscapes I normally try and make sure the camera is level, but this time I'm actually going to force the horizon over because I want the tree to look as if it's straight with the light coming in. I'm leaving the floor out and the sky out. It's just a close-up of part of the tree. So what I've got is the trunk of the tree going up the right hand side of the frame, and then the leaves all lit up, backlit on the right hand side of the frame. I'm shooting at, I don't know, 190, 195 mil. Yeah, I think that might look quite nice. And then I'll add the contrast, you know, I'll lower the exposure, boost the contrast in post. I think that might look quite nice. So as is so often the case, you see one composition, then you see another. There's some sort of the ends of some branches with some pine needles on, sticking out over a gap, and they're being backlit. And then behind that there's a tree trunk which is in shadow. And what I'm doing is shooting again another telephoto shot straight through there with the sort of backlit pine needles taking up half of the frame, and then you can just see the shadow in the background of that tree and a little bit of light in the background as well. Yeah, okay, we'll give that a go. Again, I'll drop the exposure and add contrast in post. Okay, I've got this tree here, and again the tree is quite dark, but the leaves around it are lit up by the sun which is coming from over there. So again, although the tree leans, I've actually set the camera up with a matching lean so that the tree goes up the middle of the frame, hopefully. Pretty much, yeah. So you've got the dark tree, the branches coming out, and then the glowing leaves all the way around. And again, I'm gonna shoot this one, you know, correctly exposed on the histogram, so it'll look pretty bright on here. But then I'll reduce the exposure and boost the contrast in post, so that the trunk of the tree gets very dark and the foliage gets very bright. And hopefully that'll look quite nice. I'll tell you what, this woodland photography is hard. I have great respect for people who are good at woodland photography. I mean, maybe they have access to more picturesque woodlands than I've got access to here, but nevertheless, just finding compositions is actually hard. So woodland photographers, respect. I don't think I've got much more time because the sun is getting pretty low now. I'm just moving from woodland to woodland area, but I've got a feeling it could soon be over. I just spotted this little group of small trees here, reasonably isolated, and behind them is a part of the mountain, part of the ridge that's in shadow. I've got as high up as I can get to try to get the trees all completely below the ridge line, so that I can crop this, maybe, difficult to see, maybe an 8 by 10 crop, and actually take the sky out, because I think it'll look nicer. I'll see. I mean, it might look nice with a bit of sky in there, but I can just feel that the trees popping against that dark background might look nice. I'd love to show you this on the back of the camera, but I'm actually shooting almost straight into the sun. It's really difficult. Okay, the sun's dropped down now quite a lot. It's not quite sunset yet, but it's really only the tops of some of the peaks that are now getting any light. So all the woodland is now in shadow. And if this was another day and another mission, maybe I'd be rushing around looking for a sunset shot. But today was about woodland, and I think for woodland photography, it's all over. I hope I've managed to get a few shots in this maybe not so pretty woodland. If I have, you'll already have seen them. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please give it a like, share it on social media, leave me a comment. You know I love to hear from you. Don't forget about that subscribe button if you're new here and you've enjoyed this. And as always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch. So thank you very much. And until the next video, bye.